Welcome to the Man of Thought, aka the Villain of Truth, aka the Black Panther of Night. I was supposed to come live earlier, but I'm stuck doing some few things. There were a few things I was studying, and so I could not come back live. But today is Wednesday, and people are going to be busy. But I get most notification, and it seems few people said they want me to come live. I'm like, okay, let me come live and see if my audience have anything for me today. And if we have to jump into the conversation, if you have any question, feel free to ask. If you have any question, feel free to ask. I'm simply live right now because of my audience. Few times, few people would say, "Oh, let me come back to live." Probably, maybe they want to ask me question, or they just want to hear me talk about some subject or stuff like that. Mm. So now I'm live. I'll be giving few minutes to see if people are going to join me live. If they can get the notification that I'm live right now. If there are few questions you want to ask me, feel free. Ask me whatever questions. I'll be giving you a response to it. If you have any question, please do raise your questions. No, no, no. Hello, please, if you have a question, I'm simply live because someone in the audience said I should come live. And I'm like, okay, maybe people might be expecting that I should come live. If there is a conversation around it, around any subject, then I might decide to, you know, go on live. Good day, everyone. There are days where, okay, who is speaking? This is Skull. Hello, hello, Skull. Welcome, welcome. I'm doing great, and you? All right, that's great to hear. Do you have any question for me? No, not now, but maybe later. Okay, okay. I decided few people want me to come on live. I've received some chat, and so I don't know if they've received notification because some message WhatsApp, some I think the last one was a comment on the channel, and I'm like possibly there are questions people want to ask. Oh, you just subscribed. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for subscribing. I really do appreciate. Oh, it's a great one having you guys. Perhaps there's any discussion you would want us to have. Perhaps there are any thing you want us to dive into. Specifically, not a question, but maybe there's a subject you would have want us to, go towards, and I might be able to, see where the spirit leads. Thank you, Skull, for joining. I really do appreciate you. So I await some of my audience. You know how we do it every single time you have any question, whatever is going on in your life, whatever you've been through, whatever conversation, we can always have it. Religion, spiritual, profession, whatever. Think about it. We can brainstorm it and we can work on any subject. On any subject. Is Rusty there? I doubt if Rusty is, yeah. Because I was supposed to be around 8:30, but unfortunately I was not. But I get bothered whenever. Okay, I think there's a question like, "How you doing? Do you play any games or something like that?" No, Skull, I don't. What I do is most times I ask people ask me a few questions, whatever questions about life, marriage, relationship, dating, um many things. You can ask me many things and I just give my insights on those subjects. Ah. Rusty, you're dealing with one of the kids. Which one is giving you problem? Most likely the last born or the first one. The one at the middle, they don't give much problem. It's either the first or the last. So how's the relationship? Specifically to I there should be context to it. When you say relationship, what part of relationship are you actually talking about now? Do you have a girlfriend? Do you have issues with your girlfriend? Do you have a question around female if you're a lady? Hello, Lisa. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. I was off live and I was having some messages where people are asking me about am I going to come live? And I'm like, okay, let me just try my best and show up. Some messages, some email, and I'm like, okay, is there any questions so we can dive into the subject? because I was live earlier, but it was I and Rusty specifically. Nope, I don't have anything of that. Okay, okay, Skull. Sure. Do you have any question for me, Lisa, for the day? Do you want us to brainstorm on any idea this evening? Because when I thought about the subject of Kamala Harris, I'm just like, I don't even want to go there. People are going to vote who they want to vote. Are you talking about Annunaki? Okay. The other day, someone chatted me up and we discussed on WhatsApp, and the person was telling me that Mr. Kola, the Anunnaki conversations, or many conversations. In fact, I started deciding to, okay, do I step away from few conversations or not? Because when you talk about subject like this, people might assume you don't know what you're talking about anymore. Basically, because we live in the age where ignorance of the past has kind of prevailed. I don't feel you explained it well because someone was asking about relationships. Um, okay. Now I think when it comes to the idea of the Anunnakis, I'm coming. Let me respond. Anu. Sorry, um I need to go by birthday. Okay, blessed day, everyone. All right. I don't care what others think. I simply want to hear my okay, you want to hear my perspective. Okay. Now, the first thing we need to understand is that one of the things people have said about Anunnaki is that in today's world, it's actually, some people see it as a fiction. In some ways, it is a mystery. In fact, um, it looks like something that is applicable to modern music. And when I'm going towards this direction, now it starts sounding crazy. Now, according to the Sumerian belief, people kind of believe that there is judges underworld. And so if you believe in the idea of mermaid, for example, when we want to talk about Anunnakis, we are not only focusing on the things that came from a different planet. We are not actually talking about the gods that has existed that made man only. We are talking about even certain things that have actually existed before and still exist till now. Because according to the Sumerian belief, when you hear the word Anu, Anu and Ki, that's Anunnaki, Anu and Ki tends to be the earth goddess. So these particular things, some of them exist beneath the water. And I know most people would have heard about man-made, maybe spirit from, some people say spirit from firmament and the rest of it, but we have what we call mermaid. Now, if you are in African culture, you most likely would understand these things. If you exist, if you have lived in African culture,
you would understand these things. I know of people who are kind of born and they came from water. And trust me, this is why I don't like saying it. It sounds crazy. There are people who come from water, humans who come from water. Now, the word Anunnaki, when I looked into it, it transcribed to what is also existing in the African culture. Most of it are all intertwined. Because in the history of the Anunnaki, some people are looking at it like maybe these gods came from the sky, they came somewhere and they came to make man. But when you look at it, it talks about the gods, part of them that came from a different planet to Earth, and it also talks about the goddess, part of the ones that are in the water that came to Earth. Now, for those, if you actually Google what we call Oshun, how do I do it? How do I call it? Oshun. There's a state in Nigeria we call it Oshun State. But when you write water of Oshun or Yeye Oshun, Yeye Oshun is Yeye. Oshun, that is Osun. If you separate Yeye and space Osun. If mamas are real, Lisa, I got magic beans to you. Okay. Now, this Yeye Osun, we have rivers currently in Africa, or let's not say Africa, I'm talking about Nigeria specifically. Those people who are barren, if you're barren and you go towards that river and you pray to that river, you most likely would have children. But those children will be children of the river. And there are certain sacrifices you have to make. There are certain sacrifices you have to make before they are born and after they are born. So the idea of Anunnakis, looking at it, I think from the text, for me, there is a different perception when it comes from the Sumerian beliefs. There's a little bit different perception when it comes from the Babylonian and Akkadian influences. Looking at all these things combined together, or is it the Epic of Gilgamesh? They all have various ways they look at it. And because of the theories are actually different for all of them, it is difficult for you to say that one is actually specifically the truth. Part of the gods that they talk about in from one of the Anunnakis, who is kind of responsible in creating man, is called Marduk. Is it Marduk or Marduk? That is Marduk. Now, part of the story about the Anunnakis was these gods were staying somewhere in a different planet, and something happened. Part of the things they've been looking for was to be able to get gold. Their planets were kind of having issues. They were having all kinds of issues in their planet. And then Marduk committed a crime there. And when Marduk committed a crime, they wanted to take off Marduk. And Marduk ran away and he came to Earth. So when Marduk came to Earth, he discovered that part of the solution to the problem of his people was the idea of gold. And then he made a communication to them over there and tell them that he has found something that he can use to fix the issues that are going on in their planet over there, and he can find gold on earth. Now, these stories are part of the stories these particular deities explained to mankind after man was created. And when you look at the scripture, the Bible itself, most of these things that the Bible said, compared to what are the stories of the Anunnakis, they are very similar. In fact, if not the same. The only difference was that in the Bible, it stipulated that God says, let us create man in our own image. Now, if you look at that word carefully, they didn't say God created man in his own image. When they wanted to create, it says, let us create man in our own image. Now, in the story of Anunnakis, they all came on earth, but they were being informed by Marduk. And now they have to create a man in a particular environment so that the man can actually search for gold for them. Because when they begin to till ground, it was very difficult for them. The work was kind of hectic. What is Lisa saying? He says, indicating multiple gods. Absolutely. So it wasn't only one God that creates mankind. It was multiple gods that create mankind. And if you read in the first book of Adam, the first book of Adam, the book most people call Genesis is not called Genesis. We have the first book of Adam, we have the second book of Adam. Now, they created a male and they created a female. And then they created another female. But when you look at the Bible specifically only spoke about Adam and Eve. But when you look at it very carefully, they made three. That means Adam actually had two wives, which was Lilith, which is the first one, and Eve, that tends to be the second one. So for religious people, basically because we have too many religious people on earth right now, when you speak, most of them would not understand what you're saying. So in our own culture as Africans, most of these things, we still practice them today, and we are saying these things actually do exist. So in the idea of Marduk bringing his people in the first place, Marduk, which was like a male god, Marduk begins to, the remaining one came and they started having understanding that, oh, we can actually get gold from this particular ground. We can find gold from this particular ground. These things can be used for a lot of stuff. And in fact, most people today, we do not understand the importance of gold. Some people think that gold is just for you to wear it in your neck, and gold wrist, gold watch. Most people underestimate the power behind gold, or what gold can actually be used for, apart from what we are seeing it for as. And so when Marduk came, he spoke with them, and they had an agreement that they were not going to take off Marduk. They were not going to kill Marduk. Maybe I just use it in that particular statement, that they were not going to kill Marduk. And when they made the statement like they wouldn't kill Marduk, they now decided to create mankind. And between that time, they killed one of theirs. They killed one of theirs. I think it might be Enuma Elish. That was what they call it. Maybe it's called Enuma Elish. I could be wrong with this particular side. Marduk came I think what they did was that Enuma Elish was one of those people who actually created man. That one was good to be able to create things. And Enuma Elish was one of those gods. Marduk was the first person who got discovery of earth and the gold on earth. Enuma Elish was the one who came and participated in the creation of human after they all came to an agreement that they should make man in their own image. And these things are actually existing before the Bible was written. At least one and is it how do they call it? 1 century is 1,000 years, so it was 1,500 years before the Bible was everly recorded. The Sumerians and the Akkadians and the Babylonians and the Egyptians were all existing before the manifestation of the Israelites itself. Why did not getting my gold? They can have it if okay. You man rule myself, Ganesh. Nice to meet you, man. Nice to meet you too. Lisa says, why? I don't understand the question. Maybe you put some contents to it, so I'll be able to understand the question. Why did they kill their own? Now, part of the things that made them kill their own was this. The Anunnakis, they were part of the gods that we say they contribute to the things in the heavens and of the earth. They can work on both things. And if you remember, when the Bible began to record the life of people, humans used to live longer during those times. And we were huge during those times because these were their first creatures. And so they lived longer. These particular spirits, well, I wouldn't call them spirits because they call them deities. When they came to earth, I think one of them rebelled. According to the story, one of them rebelled. I'm trying to be able to pick up the name of the person. I think maybe the person would be maybe Nibiru. That was the planet they came from. And Nibiru was the planet they came from. And maybe I've forgotten the exact name of the individual, what he did. What he did was he rebelled against them while they were coming to earth because there were few of them that was allowed to come to earth. And so there is one of these Anunnakis who is very good at creating weapons. According to the Bible titled him or called him Angel Michael. And when you read about Angel Michael is more or less like an angel for war. But in the Anunnaki scripture, that was the same person. So if you read the scripture, the Bible itself, and you compare it with the Sumerian tablets or the Babylonians, or you can call it the Akkadians or the Egyptians, these particular gods are all both in the same book. It's just like they are just being rebranded. So Angel Michael being recorded was he used to fight. Now, there was a principle that was given to them when they were coming to Earth. Nubiru was the planet they came from, according to what they told the Sumerians. Because Sumerians, they said, your duty was for you to till the ground and find the gold. And at the end of the day, they had to put some fear inside of them. And this is why the Sumerians, the Babylonians, they all worship these gods. In fact, they put a gene of worshiping. This is the reason, part of the reasons why you see that humans, we are always seeking for something to worship, something we have to idolize. It is embedded in ourself, in our DNA. If you take this same stuff, I'm always using the Anunnaki, the Bible. I'm always seeing the correlation between almost everything. Now, they also have sometimes some type of a way to also worship, to make some kind of worship. And because they used to do this worship, they use their gene to make man. But one of them rebelled, and I'm trying to remember exactly what he actually did. And when he rebelled, they had to kill that one, and it was the blood they used to form the first man, which you call Adam. And they use it, and then they all breath. Did they call it breathe? They all breathe into the man, and the man begins to exist. And so it's like the way we see, it seems as if humans are the last creation of Earth. Earth was existing with all kinds of creation. The only thing that was not existing in all creation was mankind. And sometimes this is where the thing gets, that's why I hate talking about it, because sometimes online, because it sometimes sounds like someone is crazy. Because when you ask the scientists today, science will tell you that humans evolved. According to the Anunnakis and according to the religious belief, human was made. Rusty, are you asking, have they forgot we are mining gold for them? I thought they would have been back to collect it by now. The last or the only. Now, if you do all this correlation together, today's technology that man has made, there is this conversation going on that humans are being watched. That means that there are other things that are watching us, and so we call them aliens. Why? Why are we having this kind of conversations that aliens were visiting mankind? So either we believe it from the religious context, or we believe it from the Sumerian or Akkadian or Babylonians history. Bringing it back to today's technology, humans still feel there's something watching them. This is the concept that the Anunnakis gave to mankind, that we would be watching you. And because mankind understands that these particular deities are watching them, this is where the concept of God came from. This is how we all came up with the concept of God. But when you actually read the real Bible, or when you actually look at true history, there is no single God. There was no single God. It was always called gods. And cultures and traditions already knew this in the past. And this is the reason why you see that there are various forms of worshiping gods, simply because it was not one but multiple Anunnakis or multiple deities that came on earth to form man. So a lot of us worship them in various ways depending on the particular gods that we idolize. And then if you read again through the scripture, there was a time man actually did something that was wrong, and you realize that the Bible used a statement that, and God sent some angels to go destroy the city of Lot, is it Lot, Sodom and Gomorrah, and the rest of it. Now, the same thing is applicable in the story of the Anunnakis. And that same um, deities was one who started creating weapons to destroy a lot of mankind. So as long as we make decisions to have any religious belief, we must also understand that uh, some of all these things, they are only easy for you in your head. They are difficult for you to explain. But mankind, I think we already understand on various cultural and traditional form. This is the reason why you always see that most cultures, most traditions, they worship a lot of things, and they are not worshiping only one particular God. Only religion were the one who came up to say that there is only one true God. There is a God of the firmament. There is the God of the water. There is a God of the sun. There are all kinds of gods. Now, Rusty was asking a question like, what is the gold for? Why do they need the gold? Now, the gold was important to them at that particular time, and it was used for them to fix certain issues in Nibiru or Nubiri. Is it Nibiru? That was their that was the planet they came from. So when you fix some of your problem, just like, let's put it this way, the US need most countries to be able to give them maybe crude oil. Yes. IFA you're talking about, is it IFA? Because in African cultures, we have what we call IFA, and we recognize, and IFA recognize a lot of gods. And let us ask ourselves this question. This will be helpful to maybe Rusty's question. When man is made, okay, when man is made, what do man understand about gold? Why do we have so much gold in the days of the scripture than the gold we have on this present day? Now, remember that earth itself was filled with a lot of plants and the rest of it. How come, rather than man to focus on just cultivating how to survive, why was man focusing much on gold during that time? Why was gold so important during that time? Do we even also ask ourselves a question? How much do you think is difficult to get gold that man will be struggling to get gold? Did you know that the actual, thanks for joining Jack Jaguar 23, says, did you know that the actual dating of metal work art is not possible? I might be learning something new. Maybe you can explain it better for me so I can comprehend you. I can comprehend what you're saying. Now, gold was used for a lot of stuff. And in fact, going back to the scriptural time, you hear the word, the Ark of Covenant. You see a lot of people invest so much in gold. Here was not conducive for these deities to exist at that particular time, just as earth is not conducive for mankind to decide to go live in mankind cannot make decisions now to go live in either Venus or Pluto. Why? Because earth is more conducive for us. And in fact, humans, we are the last creation that has been made on earth. But because of the spirit and the creation from these particular deities to us, it helps us to be able to know how to lead or control all other animals or plants. But during those time, these are the things we have to eat to survive. I'm only asking a question which kind of baffles me sometimes when I'm thinking about it, is humans were so much focusing on gold at that particular time. If you ask yourself, why is man so much interested in gold during that time, more than now that we even have the technology? How many people are even interested in having gold right now? If not only celebrities or musicians. It was basically because it was used for something else. Now, you can also hear from I wouldn't say it's a fact, but we can also see that there have been part of history which has said that alien came to visit mankind. It says, according to my research, specific times of a metal artifact are not possible to date accurately. Okay. You're right, sir. You're right, sir. So when we look at all these things, I think it is not that much complicated, but I think if men understand these things, it reduces our interests in life itself. Sometimes that's why they use the word, they said ignorance is bliss. Because when you begin to realize that, okay, like I was saying earlier, aliens were said to have come visit mankind. And then we want to ask ourselves a question. When most of these deities came, some of them were part of the ones, who structured Babylonians and the rest of it, Babylon. And these are part of, till date, we are still asking a question, how is pyramid being made? Now, in the stories from the Egyptian scroll, these deities were part of the creators or that molded the pyramid. Why is it that regardless of the technology we have today, why is it that even at this particular point, we cannot still explain how the pyramid was being built? Some people will say, and trust me, now you can't say that it is God. Because if you have to believe it is God that built pyramid, then that simply means it is not the God of the Israelites. It has to be the God of the Egyptian, because the pyramid is in Egypt and was built before the Israelites. And so the God of the Israelites didn't build anything like a physical structure, but according to the religion, it made man. Absolutely. Absolutely. The knowledge was being withheld. So we don't want to, I don't want I will say all these things then later tomorrow. What I would rather do is this. I would talk about few stories because I have some books here where I study some of them. I bought some of them, I read them, and I jot few things down about the stories of the Anunnakis and the rest. And for me, I'm not studying it just from the culture of just the Sumerian. I'm looking at the connection between the Sumerian, the Akkadians, the Babylonians. These particular groups work together because they all believe in the Anunnakis. Now, there's a separation between their book and there's a separation between the Egyptians. Now, there's also a similarity and correlation to it. Now, don't even get it wrong. The story of the Anunnakis is also in the Bible, but it was being removed. That is the book we call the Book of Enoch. And I know most Christians do not even understand the Book of Enoch. Now, if you read the Book of Enoch, the same thing about the Anunnakis was exactly explained in the Book of Enoch. But you cannot believe, and the Book of Enoch was part of the Bible. Don't even call it Bible, because all these things we have to find the right language to put it. There was no such thing as Bible before. There was only what we call the scroll. Bible was a name that was being invented. Even in the days of Jesus, there was no such thing as Bible. It was all called scroll. So, in the scroll, the Book of Enoch, which the Book of Enoch was part of the book that was taken from this book from the Egyptians, and it was included. And so, for us to be able to build a religion, for mankind to be able to participate in believing in one religion, a lot of things was removed. Even I can say this to my audience: go on your Google Play Store if you're using Android phone or whatever, and download the Book of Enoch. If you download the Book of Enoch, go through it. But trust me, the Book of Enoch is in your Bible, but it has been removed. I always say that the Bible itself, which is the scroll, consists of about 86 books. They were, yeah, absolutely. They were stolen. It's about 86 book. Now, one of the ones that is kind of perfect, almost, not perfect, but almost completed, is the Ethiopian Bible. But if you go on Google right now, you can still download the Book of Enoch. Download it and go through it. Everything I'm saying about the Anunnakis, when I begin to talk about the Anunnakis, then you will be able to grasp exactly what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, you can't know these things and still believe in the kind of, if you're a church goer, then you begin to think. Then you don't have interest in going to church anymore. Because when the truth is revealed to you, you no more become a slave. You no more become part of the system. Rather, you become independent based off knowledge. The library in Egypt burnt to the ground, yeah, but scrolls were taken by the Romans. And trust me, you can remember that when the Israel, which they actually emanate from the Egypt, when they went after the Babylonians, you imagine that they destroyed the whole Babylonians. And part of the reasons is so they can have some of the books, the right language, some of the scrolls. Okay, you even wrote it here. But scrolls were taken by the Romans. Absolutely. Absolutely. So read the book of Enoch, and then you might understand part of the things I'm saying. And I can say things that would make sense, because when we want to talk about the Anunnakis, it's not specifically you just saying things that looks like you're speaking in tongues and people do not understand what you're saying. It is always good for people to have a glimpse of these stories of how man is being made. And so the deities, part of the deities are underwater till date. Some of them are underworld and underground. But in the African culture, you can pray and they can take you to a water, and you can pray if you're barren and you do some sacrifice, you're going to have children. You would have children. There might be a caveat to it. And part of the people who worship these things are the Ifa. So we have all kinds of cultures and all kinds of traditions. So there's power. The closest one to us is the power from the stream, or they call it from the river. So we underestimate all these things simply because we want to believe in a religion, but the religion is just to make us think in a little box. And so this is this is already 11 p.m. This is 11 p.m. Let me see if few people can read a little bit about the book of Enoch. It might be more easier for me to be able to explain things to them. So I would say this. Tomorrow, specifically by 7 p.m., I will speak about almost everything I know about the Anunnakis. It's not going to be about any subject except the Anunnakis. I will talk about there are many mermaids in the Lake Victoria. Yeah. So specifically tomorrow, I would debunk at least 20 to 30% of the stories of the Anunnakis. And I like bringing them. I don't like just reading it about the past, like history. I like to link them to the Bible. I like to link them to the Egyptian teachings. I like to also link them present day. To present day. And you see, we have built a nation whereby, or we have built things for ourselves as humans, and we are flourishing as people. We don't even understand a lot of stuff. And I wouldn't say that I am 1000% sure about any of this, but I can say that majority of these things reflect itself. Basically, looking at it from the perspective of my culture and my tradition and what I know is possible, very possible. You know, some in the Western culture, most people do not understand what blood money means. Well, maybe some people now understand it. They call it what do they call it? Illuminati. That's what most people call it, Illuminati. We ain't talking about Illuminati connection and the rest of it. The book of Enoch was never referred to by Jesus or any of the New Testament writers as scripture. So the book was not included in the New Testament by the apostles apparently. Absolutely. Even the book of Jesus, which is the New Testament, from the New Testament to the end, a lot of things are not there. Now, if you check the lost book of the Bible, I would list out few of the books of what the Bible didn't even touch on Christ this thing. Because when people are reading Bible and they think they know it all, I just laugh. In the Bible, most people do not understand that it started, let's just say, in the last book of the Bible, there is what we call the gospel of the birth of Mary. And that's why I tell people that Jesus was not the only person who was born of a virgin. Saint Anne, that tends to be the grandmother of Jesus, gave birth to Mary, and she was a virgin. There's another book that was not in the New Testament, but during the time of Jesus, was called the Proto-Evangelion. Please don't put me in problem, before people say, oh, this guy has run mad. Proto-Evangelion. There's another book called The First Book of the Infancy of Jesus Christ. That book is not in the Bible. We have Thomas' Gospel of the Infancy of Jesus Christ, the Epistles of Jesus Christ and Abgarus, King of Edessa, the Gospel of Nicodemus, formerly called the Act of Pontius Pilate. You see, there are some stories in the Bible that are even misconstrued. There's a time they said, what do they call his name? Is it Pirates or Pilate? That when the people asked that they want Jesus to be killed, to be crucified, he washed his hand. He didn't wash his hand. That was not the time he washed his hand. He washed his hand after the resurrection of Jesus Christ. We have the Apostles of Creed. We have the Epistle of Paul, the Apostle of the Laodiceans. We have the Act of Paul and Tertia, the first Epistle of Clement to the Corinthians. We have the general epistles of Barnabas, the epistles of Ignatius to the Ephesians. We have Jesus Christ. You can't even finish mentioning it. The shepherd of Hamas. We have letter of Herod and Pilate, because Herod was the king at that particular time. You know, I tell people that the first name that was recorded in man history or in mankind is Pharaoh. And so that is the name that was being called over and over from one king to the other. So from Pharaoh, they started having all kinds of names to each other. But when we read all this, you look at the first book of Adam and Eve, you look at the second book of Adam and Eve, you look at the book of the Secrets of Enoch, you look at the Psalms of Solomon. Some people think Psalms, we have Psalms, we have the Song of Solomon. There's what we call the Psalms of Solomon, the Odes of Solomon, the letter of Aristias. We have the story of Ahika, Testament of Levi, the Testament of Judah. See, there is no way you talk all these things. Yes, Pilate. And Pilate's wife was part of the witness of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now, there's a practice that made Jesus to be born. There is a culture that made Jesus to be born. That means if a virgin has to get pregnant, there's certain kind of sacrifice they do, and she's going to be pregnant. The difference is that during those times, you are going to come out a little bit pure, different from the angle of humans. You know, as a man, if you have sex with your wife or whatever, your DNA and the DNA of your wife are both registered inside that child. This is the reason why Jesus' spirit was tends to be pure, because it didn't come really from the flesh of a man. So all I would say is this: when we continuously talk about this, it all boils down to religious people getting upset. So what I would do is tomorrow, by God's grace, because I'm feeling sleepy, my brain may not be able to function very well. What I would do is that I would talk from 7 p.m. tomorrow. Let's just make our time. If Lisa will be the only one available, probably Rusty will be available. If anyone will be joining, we will just talk smoothly on the stories of the Anunnakis, at least 30% of it, and let's relate them to every other things that exists. Hopefully, I just want to do it to satisfy the side of Lisa. I think you wrote something. It says Pontius Pilate, or however you spell it, LOL. Okay, trust me, this makes religious people very upset. Absolutely. Immaculate conception is something I would never believe. Well, immaculate conception is actually real. There is documentary of it. We have stopped a lot of practice as humans, and so we underestimate the power of spirituality, or the power of humans, what we can actually do, basically because now we get more educated. You see, humans were just so powerful in many ways that everyone has to be careful of each other. Rusty, there is a place in Nigeria here. What do they call this place? Is it Ijebu? Abi? There's a city, there's a village I can take you to. When you see elderly people there, you better don't laugh. If you laugh at those elderly people, you are never going to stop laughing for the rest of your life. I don't care who you are. Once you get to that village, you don't do that. There's also a village that I can take you to. You cannot steal in that village. I don't care how good you are. You would go to the market. People already shared out their market. You buy whatever you want to buy. You drop the money there and you go. But if you think you can take anything and run away, you know, those who haven't experienced it would never understand these things. They would never understand these things. There are a lot of things. But when we talk about all this stuff, we would sound like it's either we are being perceived to be diabolic, it's either we are perceived to be crazy. You know, people would underestimate these things. And that's the reason why I just like human biology shows the immaculate conception is impossible. There is nobody on the planet who has bettered a child without having sex or being artificially inseminated. Now, you use the word artificially inseminated. There is the spiritual side of it. Maybe you might see it as artificially, but during that time, in the time of Jesus, before Jesus was born, there was a sacrifice they used to do according to Judaism at that particular point. There is I don't know how to explain completely the whole sacrifice process, but they use a egg, this egg. They take egg. Now, they did not narrate exactly what kind of egg. So you might be thinking it's chicken egg and it should be something, another egg. But it is a white egg. They use that particular egg to, between the woman and the egg, They do some kind of sacrifice and she becomes pregnant. Now, what does the egg represent? The egg actually represents the sperm, the semen to them. And so the difference is that when you have those children's spirit tends to be a little bit pure. There are few things you do as a child, let's just say Mr. Rusty as a person. You might have not seen your dad before, but there are certain characteristics you possess that are the characteristics of your dad. Now, the difference is that when they to have their children, the child does not possess the characteristics of any man. And so they have more ability to dive into more spiritual things, unlike we that get distracted by a lot of. Let me not say too much here. Let's just round up for today. Like part of the books we will talk about, no, the egg is not representative of sperm, it's the egg of the woman. We can call it the egg of the woman. Yeah, sperm is not egg. No, I'm not saying sperm is an egg, but does the balls represent egg? Does the balls of a man look like egg? Egg is egg. Those sacrifices involve sperm, 100%. So maybe I could be wrong, like Lisa rightfully said. The sperm is not egg. So, but what you can only discover is that they use that egg with the woman, and it is a sacrifice that is going in Judaism. So maybe I'm looking at it like when you break the egg, something like that. Maybe the egg, I don't know what it represents, but maybe it's the egg of the woman and it forms the child, and they are immaculate, which is documented. So, but at the same time, Rusty could be right. And why do I say Rusty could be right? There is no DNA. So we are going to touch on the subject by God's grace tomorrow. I just have to do it for Lisa because she has expected me to talk about this subject. I will just dive in and touch on many angles as possible as I can tomorrow. At least I will sacrifice about 1 hour, 30 minutes or 2 hours to talk about this subject tomorrow. Maybe I would attach some little books to it so you can always find them in either the book of Enoch and the Bible. You can always see all the representation because I like linking them all together so it makes sense to a lot of us, to a lot of people. Yes, and after this topic, yeah, is there any other topic you want me to touch on? Because I will do it, I'll be doing it tomorrow by I'll be on the topic live by 7 p.m. tomorrow. Can you go back to grounding and the importance of it? You were speaking about it today. Okay, about the tree. Now, I was saying something. There's an importance of your foot being on the ground. I don't like saying all those things because there are people who believe these things and they will I call it over exaggerate. They kind of over exaggerate those things. And it's part of the book of when you see Moses and the Bible says, oh, Moses, blah, 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 blah. And he had to pull off your slippers and walk on the holy ground. All right, I'll connect it. Walk on the holy ground and the rest of it. But here is it. When your foot is close to a tree, the tree itself has some energy inside of it. trees itself has energy. Now, when you are close to the tree, there are certain people who go as far as when they are going through something in life, they begin to hug tree and the rest of it. I don't like going extreme because there are humans in life that when you tell them A, they become extreme with it. But trees have energy around them. And if you understand that the energy, the frequency around the trees are kind of peaceful, in a sense that we are aligned with nature because many things come together to make us as humans. And what we need to understand is this: sometimes we think our intelligence is the one working, but sometimes when our vibration is poor, even with our intelligence, we can be miserable. This is the reason why you would see a lot of people who are very intelligent, they are the most depressed people, or they have the most anxiety. You call them even professor and they look like mad people. And the reason is basically because they focus on the intelligence and philosophy of other things, but they neglect the alignment of nature. So when you understand the principles of nature, putting your foot close to the ground near a tree, it changes the vibration of you. Now, I don't know. The tree I have in my compound, that tree is an apple tree. It's about to start bearing fruit. In the next 1 month, it's going to bear fruit. I'll tell you, it's most likely only that tree you might see over 2,000 fruits. Oh, thank you, Lisa. I'm grateful. Thanks for the $10. I really appreciate. Now, when you put your foot close to the ground, you have to look at the tree first of all. What kind of tree do you have there? And a tree that actually has a lot of leaves, because it protects more the energy. And when you're close to it and your foot is on the ground, when you stay there, you feel a little bit refreshed. And it's not something that I can specifically use word to describe, but what I can say is that your vibration begins to change. And when your vibration is aligned properly, most times the way we are miserable in life, when we are miserable, it is easy for us to be miserable to other people. That means when someone says something, you get upset immediately. When people can easily trigger our button. But when you are more or less aligned and your vibration is in the right place, you are naturally nice to people. Now, that doesn't mean you don't know yourself or you don't have your boundaries, but it changes your vibration. And when your foot is on the ground, and I'm saying putting your foot on the ground, there are times when you can do this that are very effective. Every time is good, but there are times that you can do it that is very effective. Now, I do not know if time zone is part of it. But in Nigerian time, I might tell you you can do it in your place. I might be wrong with the timing due to the fact that the sun for everyone is different and our time are always different. So the sun does not come out every time. So everyone is different. For example, the birds in Africa, for example, or in Nigeria specifically, they come home by 5 p.m. Your birds over in the Western culture might be flying in the daytime, and the time is going to be different from ours. So 5 p.m., when you put your foot on the ground for maybe about 1 hour, stay close to a tree and put your foot in the ground for 1 hour. I do not care the stress in your body. I do not care I do not care the anxiety in your life. There's a time when you feel so refreshed that even if you're finding reasons to cry, if you're finding a reason to be miserable, you would not be able to see any reasons for it. The tree can give you that kind of vibration that rather for you to see something that is negative, it gives you a vibration that you appreciate life more. That is what it does to you. You appreciate life more. And maybe that's the best way I can simplify it. But one of the things I always advise also is that if you can have the right vibration by standing close to the tree, 5 p.m. in the evening, do you have to be barefoot? Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to be barefoot. You have to be barefoot. You have to come close to the tree and you have to be barefoot. If the soil there is too warm, because in African culture we don't say the soil is hot. We say the soil is cold. In fact, we use the word cold. If perhaps the soil there is warm, you can pour water on the ground, but let your foot be on that ground. It will change your vibration. The only time you can know it, what I'm saying, is until you practice it. That's the only time you can experience what I'm saying, until you practice it. Just go close to the tree by 5 p.m. in the evening in our own time. I do not know the time in other people's place. Or early in the morning, when you wake up in the morning by 6, 7, 8, and you stretch up, the energy of the tree is being refreshed at that particular time. You go there and you align yourself with it. Let us not forget the fact that everything we eat comes from the ground. And like Rusty was saying earlier, Rusty was saying something about how the roots, there is a vibration or communication under the ground. That is absolutely true. The more we are walking with our shoes and sandals, yes, we look more clean, but we are separating ourselves from exactly where we come from. And when we are separating yourself from where you actually come from, you feel there's something inside of you that feels like you don't belong here. There's something inside of you that feels you don't belong here. This is why you're going to be trying to do a lot of things just so that you can have this mentality or feelings that you are doing something that is correct, that the world actually wants you here. The reason is simply because you are not feeling like the earth is your ground, like you belong to the ground, or you belong to earth itself, sorry, not ground. So when your foot is on the ground every single time, you feel a sense of belonging and you feel a sense of appreciation for everything. So maybe I will just simplify it on that. Tomorrow morning, maybe when I wake up in the morning, I might talk more on it and elaborate more on the experiences on trees. I would do that definitely by God's grace tomorrow morning. UK same time as you. Okay, all right. Yes, like UK, it's same time. Same time. Yeah. So from 5 p.m. you can stay there till 6:30, 7 p.m. Just your foot on the ground. Just your bare foot on the ground and close to the tree. Just stay there. If you practice it within 1 week, you would see the difference in your life. I'm not even saying that particular day you do it, you would feel the difference. But within 1 week, I feel you would have not getting yourself involved. It's just like a mother and a child. When you begin to get close to your mom, which is earth, And I do not understand the connection. Maybe, perhaps, the tree is gathering more information from the ground and it have those energy and it's passing it to you for you to feel you belong. Maybe that's what it's doing. But when you can start receiving that energy, your vibration, and and I will say this, you can get to a level in spirituality that you don't necessarily have to read a book to know a lot of things. And I tell people, I do not read a lot. I don't read a lot. But there are few things you can learn, you can know in life, not necessarily because you read a book. All these things are difficult to explain with words. But with time, I think I would find a way to be able to explain all these things better. Please, thank you very much for everyone who has supported me. I wasn't planning to come live, but suddenly I've been having some messages. I need to come live and all of that. It seems like you. I'm trying. I'm trying. But I really don't read. I really don't read. I really don't read. I but I have certain practices. And in those practices, I write. I write more than I read. If I show most of my books that I've written, I haven't read quarter of it. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification. So see you tomorrow. By 7 p.m. we are going to talk about the Anunnakis. But in the morning, I'm going to talk about things from the tree so we can have more insight. Thank you everyone for supporting. Thank you, Mr. Rusty. Thank you, Miss Lisa. Thank you, every single person, Jack Jaguar, and the rest of us who have been part of today's live stream. Have a great night and take good care of yourself. I appreciate all your support. Bye bye for now.